Shelby at first.
All right.
Okay.
We'll call the meeting to order at 5:37. Notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of bylaw 0164B of the Riverside Local Board of Education, which was adopted in accordance with section 1.450 of the ORC and the Ohio Administrative Procedures Act. I have a resolution to amend the agenda to add item 2A, Treasurer Pro Tempore. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Can,
I'm going to just swap it.
so who calls the roll then?
Mike will. I can
Mike,
do it.
can you call the roll?
Scott Fisher.
Aye.
Ms. Keeney is absent. Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Linda's
Ah.
here. Bush.
Ms. Krasinski?
He hasn't called my name?
Denise.
Whatever, it doesn't matter to me.
Lori Krasinski.
Here.
Linda Grassi had Denise Brewster as treasurer. Work.
I'm good.
Okay.
Is that a 4-0?
4-0.
Motion carried. All right. Ms. Brewster, can you call the roll?
Scott Fishel,
Here.
Dennis Keeney is not here. Myself, here. Belinda Grassi,
Here.
and Lauren
Here.
Kaminsky. Okay.
Okay, stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, we already made the motion to appoint.
We do need to make, that's the motion, we amended the agenda, now this time.
Okay, so now, okay, make a motion to appoint
And it can be Mr. Grassi if you'd like.
Denise Brewster as Treasurer Pro Tem. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mike, can you take the roll?
Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Linda Grassi.
Aye.
Lori Krasinski.
Aye.
Scott Fisher.
Aye.
Absent.
A motion carried. Work session, report card discussion.
Okay, we are excited to talk about the report card. Today presenting is Mrs. Katie Lineweber. She is our newly hired curriculum supervisor, and she and I will be going through some of the settings on, or some of the rankings on this year's report card. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie. She'll talk about the data involved. Really excited to showcase her skill set in that especially, and then I'll kind of get to the what are we doing about some of the stuff and how we're continuously improving. So with that.
Okay. Hi, thank you. I am Katie Line-Weber. I am, as Dr. Rutino said, I am the new curriculum supervisor, and I'm excited to be here. The report card really does look pretty close to what it looked like last year, quite honestly. We're at 3.5 stars. We have 4 stars in achievement, gap closing, and graduation, 3 stars in early literacy, and then the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component, which is, there was a rating last year, but it actually counts on the report card this year, and then 2 stars in progress. Going forward, the next slide is a snapshot. There we go. Of the individual school ratings. There's quite a bit to celebrate there when you're looking at Wilmuth. We're at 3 stars. Riverside is at 3.5. Both Melridge and Riverview at 4, and then Buckeye and Parkside were at 4.5 stars. Some 5-star ratings as well when you're looking at Buckeye, looking at progress and gap closing, and then Melridge and Parkside are also 5 stars in gap closing. Parkside has the 5 stars in achievement. Tons of 4 stars that you see there, and we have a handful of the 2 stars, and that gives us a place to start with how we move forward and do some things to
couple of things to note about this year's report card that differ from report cards in prior years. Buckeye and Melridge are only graded in one grade on progress, so that's a 1 grade score for progress because we have moved the 5th grade to Lamouth. Lamouth now has 3 years of progress instead of 2 because they have the 5th grade, 6th grade, and 7th grade there. So it's a little bit different for the overall ratings as well. Buckeye rose to 4.5 stars, as did Riverview, rose to 4 stars from where they were. So great areas of celebration there.
This just quickly talks or speaks to how the report card is calculated for the district at least. So you'll see that both progress and achievement are at 25% and the other 4 are at 12.5%. That is for the district only. So just so that you're aware, if you happen to go into another building, progress and achievement have to be the same percentage. And then those other 4 also have to be the same percentage. But depending upon what level you're at, you know, the elementary versus the middle school versus the high school, we don't see all 4 of those bottom components. Obviously, we don't have graduation rate at one of the elementary schools. So the thing that will happen is that achievement and progress, those will be the same, and like I said, the other 4 will also be the same, but achievement and progress have to be twice as much as whatever is left over. So it kind of makes for an interesting math problem when you're trying to figure out what everything looks like at the different buildings when we're going in and talking to teachers. All right, so achievement. I like achievement. I think it makes a lot of sense, at least in my brain. Achievement, in a nutshell, is how our students are performing on the OSTs, on the assessments. So are they scoring at a proficient level versus an advanced level versus a limited level? And so what you're looking at here on the screens are the bar graphs for the last 5 years, excuse me. And that little smidgen up at the top is advanced plus. And then you can see all the colors. The green is advanced, accomplished is the yellow. That orangey color is proficient. And then the blues are basic and limited. So our goal, obviously, is to try to increase the, what do we want to say, the length, I guess, of the orange on up and decrease the size of the blue. And over time, you can see that we are definitely making some progress in terms of how many students are scoring advanced or proficient versus that blue. Before I talk about what the numbers are at the top, I don't want to forget to say this. That little part up at the top, the advanced plus, that comes from our grade accelerated students. So when we have subject accelerated students, when we have students who are subject accelerated, and this happens quite a bit in math, more so than ELA, students who score proficient, they count as accomplished. Students that are scoring accomplished count as advanced, and that advanced would count as advanced plus. You're with me? So we kind of get a bonus point with that. We have that with our 7th graders who are taking the 8th grade test, or 8th graders taking the Algebra 1, and then 9th graders taking the geometry test. So the number up at the top is called a performance index. We're at 90.2 this year. Last year we were at 90.5. It is very, very similar, obviously. And in order to get that, we take the percentage of the students that are scoring at each level and then multiply that by a weight. There is a different weighting for each one of those components, the top being 1.3, limited being only 0.3. But when we multiply the percentage of students by whatever the weight is, we get a certain number of points, add them all up, and that gives us the 90.2. When you look at this, it says we're at an 82.2% because we then take the 90.2 and divide it by the max performance index, which comes from the average of the performance index scores from the top 2% of schools in the state. And that this year is a 109.8. So that's where we come up with the 82.2%. And the 4 stars is determined, it's really a 90, 80, 70, 60 kind of scale. On the next slide only shows the rating and the 5 stars. So to get to 5 stars, we would need to be at a 90%, but that's where that comes from. Questions before we go on to?
Yeah, I was just going to ask on the subject accelerated. I know we have a gifted program, but there's other students that might excel.
Mhm.
So is there an attempt to try to see if there are other students that,
Absolutely. So it's not just, those subject accelerated students are not just gifted.
Right.
There are other students who qualify
Exactly.
for that as well. Yes.
For sure.
So we're pushing
At
everyone.
different grade levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. at
But the
different grade
majority
levels.
you see in 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade, that's where the
Mhm.
majority of ours come from. Because
Okay.
that's when they said that they naturally, the curriculum naturally accelerates them
Yes.
in that honors track.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Mhm.
How does it affect the score if students aren't here or don't take the test?
They count as a 0. So every student counts. We have very few students that do not take the test, and if there are students who don't take the test, we do everything that we can to have that waived. I know that happened.
So we, this year, our untested students was 0.1%, and that's not
Yeah.
always our students. That's, so those can be students registered to us or at a separate facility, including a correctional institute or anything else they're still required to take the test. There are students, we did a tremendous job this year at making it this is the lowest I've ever seen it, at making it an obligation that we go to them to take the test. We'll do what we need to do to make sure that it happens. This is the first year we actually had a medical situation waived.
Yeah.
We succeeded. We've tried before and have not had it happen, and this year was one that we've had it happen. And it's been pretty significant medical issues that we did not get waived, including a student with cancer, a student with, they still said, well, they should take it. But this was a time when we actually got one. We got a win, so I'm gonna take it as a win and go from that, because obviously, there are more important things in a child's life sometimes than taking a test.
Well, I remember last year we didn't get away
We
with it.
did not.
No.
No, we tried for 4 last year and didn't get it. I think this year we tried for, we were 50%. I think we submitted 2 and got 1. So, I'll take it. So what are we doing about it, and how are we continuing to improve? Well, I started with this. We put this into place and shared this with the board earlier. It doesn't change. We're not teaching to these assessments. We're teaching students, and we're teaching students to grow. We believe all students should be able to read on grade level. We believe all students should be able to do some basic math skills. Along the way, we believe all students should graduate knowing at least having some idea of what they want to do and what they want to excel in. And that's what the Pathway to Excellence really speaks to. High quality achievement, high quality assessment, an instructional framework that's personalized to students, really truly a rigorous curriculum and materials that are driving them for high success, a designated program with interventions to move those students along the way, to individually identify what their needs are. Instructional rounds where we're working and our teachers are going in and learning from each other in a community and actually watching and seeing what our problem practice is. The portrait of a beaver, and again, that doesn't necessarily tie to these tests, that just ties to well-rounded graduates and well-rounded students with the essential skills to be essential in any type of career force. College and career readiness, we speak about that a lot. And then obviously the ultimate goal, what we talk about right now, especially with this one, is increased student achievement. These don't change from whatever topic we're talking about. This is, in terms of what we're doing, this is the pathway to raise every single one of those levels up. We know that that's going to work. We're implementing it. We're really working to get into that with fidelity. And Mrs. Linemember's really helped a lot with breaking down the report card as well, getting in with our teachers and our BLTs, showing them the nuances and some of the data that's there, and how to work on that. And then also our MTSS groups have met to really look at individual students, put them in groups, ability group them, and make sure that they get the supports they need to move them forward. Even on MAP testing, we're starting to see the growth from it. We put the new curriculum in. We know that in some of our grades are they're going through the first year of curriculum, then we're going to have some adoption issues. There's going to be some struggle for that first year of adoption. Although this is our second year in K1 and 2 with the K1 and 2 is benchmark advance. No, Wit and Wisdom.
Wit and Wisdom.
K1 and 2 with the Wit and Wisdom Science of Reading curriculum. This is their second year. We're seeing those kind of gains on the MAP test in reading comprehension. We don't test those students, and that doesn't really show up until 3rd grade, because some of these measures are 1 and 2 years behind. So yes, it's the 2025 report card, but it should be the 2022 through 2025 report card, because that's where some of the data comes from as well.
So without the formal testing, how are you seeing improvements?
So we're seeing it, we're in our formative MAP assessments. Our MAP assessments are going up. Our growth in MAP and our achievement rates in MAP right now are higher than they've been before. We're looking in significant levels from that. We're seeing it in the instruction and the rounds that we're doing and the data that they're collecting through that as well. So we're using other forms of assessments, just not the formal standardized data assessments. What we hope and what we think is going to happen is that that's going to transfer onto the state assessments as students become not only more comprehensive in what they know, but also how they show what they know. And I think part of it too is getting those, and we'll get to some more of that in a little bit, getting those types of questions in front of our teachers and letting them look at what they're doing based on the blueprint of the test.
Do we have something like a sample test that we could?
I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So some of the other things, obviously.
Sorry
we're
for
talking-
jumping ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We'll get. So I mentioned specifically for achievement, we have to have high quality common assessments. We have to make sure we assess students at the level of rigor that they're going to be assessed at and that they're expected to know. We need that system of supports, the MTSS program, to make sure we target interventions and not just say, hey, you didn't get it, that's okay. No, that's not okay. We need to continue to make sure that they get it. Having our teachers meet together to grow, share best practices, look at data, break it down, and talk about that. Gifted credentials, really working to make sure we get those teachers working with our students who are gifted and expanding how we offer our gifted program. That works with achievement and also in other areas. And then again, the new ELA and math curriculum, Benchmark Advanced, Wit and Wisdom, and the CEM Math. We identified those as significant areas where we need to grow in. The Benchmark Advanced and Wit and Wisdom were actually forced upon us by the state using a science and reading-based curriculum. But the ones we picked really do fit kind of that higher level, upper level thinking and writing while you're doing some of that, especially Benchmark Advanced. So I know in 5th grade there's a lot of corn. That first unit's on corn. I think our 5th graders are sick of corn right now because that's what they learn about. But it's a lot of nonfiction type reading that they do moving through. The other thing that we're really excited about, our partnership with the ESC of NEO has given us access to these data dashboards that are driven. So when you ask about, is there a practice test, so our teachers are going to have access to this, our principals have access to this, our curriculum and coaches. These are basically a whole grade. So the grade I chose to put up there was 4th grade math. It breaks the standards down by testing cycles, and Katie's become an expert on it. I'm going to actually let her explain it.
We actually have a couple of dashboards, and so far we have released the OST dashboard to our teachers and worked through it with them. There is so much information on this. It gives them an ability. That questions per strand is huge when we talk about that, because it's giving you a big focus so that as you're looking at the curriculum, you know that, okay, I have only 4 questions that are on geometry, so that can wait until maybe later in the year. But I really have to make sure that I'm hitting fractions and measurement pretty hard at that point. It gives us some information in terms of how we're doing standard by standard. That's what that overall standards view is. Even the detailed view tells us how many students are getting a point on it versus just 0 points. But what I love about this is that as you're going through and you're really looking at all of this, over on that right-hand side, when teachers are in this, those are all live links, and it's showing them. So to your point, or your question before, those are all released questions over on the right-hand side. So I know on this test that top standard, there were 3 questions that related to it. And that links to a Google Doc with every single test question. I want to say from 2017, I could be lying, it might be 2019, up until this most recent test that has been released from that standard. So teachers are able to go in and see what the released questions look like, and then truly understand what the standard is saying, because they've got both the question and the standard right there. It's been incredibly powerful for a lot of people to go through and look at that.
So another thing that they do have access to in another dashboard is really graphical by the standards, kind of where they line up by each standard. So you can see in this one, again, 4th grade math, that top bar is purple. In spring of 2024, we did not do as well in the geometry standard, which is why it dropped, and then we came back up again in the spring of 2025. It shows the students tested every year. Again, the released items are still there for them along the way. It kind of says, which standard do we need to work on? Where are our strengths? So as teachers reflect on that, and they reflect on their class and kind of their assessments along the way and how they taught things, they can kind of have that inner reflection to say, this is something that I struggle with, or maybe I need to look at some of these questions because I may have taught it a different way. Sometimes it's a vocabulary issue. There was one time where they used where one school taught it as a box and whisker chart, and it was it was something. It wasn't about. It was not a scatter plot, but a histogram. Or something so vocabulary matters. So are we using the same vocabulary that the assessment is looking at? And then we do have one, I did not put a picture of it up there as well. We do have one that compares all of our elementary schools and breaks them out as how they did. So we can, as they're working on their TBTs, well, if an elementary school scored a little bit better, we can have those conversations. But then the last column is, what are the top 5% and how are they scoring out in the state? How are they scoring out basically on each of those standards? So we can reach out to them or see kind of, these are the top 5% and this is where they're at. And they're not all in the 80s and 90s. There are some that are, hey, they're struggling with it too. But kind of where do you get the bang for your buck to really look at some of that as well. So those are our dashboards and something we're really excited to use this year. We have more than just the OST ones. We have them on attendance because we're looking at attendance rates. We have them in college and career readiness to look at that really allow us to get into it and really work on how we can drive our achievement in one smooth spot. So that wraps it up for achievement. Any questions on that?
Who's providing all this data? Like what system are you using for this?
This is coming out of the ESC of Northeast Ohio. There is a woman there who puts them together. The data comes from EMIS and ODEX, I believe. And I am not familiar enough with that to speak to it and tell you for sure, but I want to say most of what she has been asking for comes directly from EMIS. So what's actually very interesting about it is I was actually in a meeting yesterday, and somebody was talking about do we have get a dashboard or do we not? And we were talking about graduation. And I know this has nothing we're not talking about achievement, but I will say this very quickly and I promise to move on. And the man said, well, we've been kind of checking everything and keeping track of things on like a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. And he said, and that's all fine and good, but if this is coming from EMIS, this is also what the state is seeing. So what's on these dashboards is what the state will see. So it's a nice check for us to go, oh, did we miss something? Or, oh, do we need to go and pull these 15 students and say, okay, we have to start working on this, this, and this so that we can make sure we get through graduation. So.
But somebody's actually putting this together for us, like.
Yes, yeah. It's when we switched to the ESC of NEO, this was one of the reasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
they-
Yeah.
And do we pay for that?
It's part of
Or
our
is it
as
just
part of our
part of, like-
in-kind membership.
Wow.
It's pretty
That's
amazing.
great, yeah,
I mean, it's
right?
really, for somebody that looks at it as much as I do, it's really nice to be able to pull things up the way it's organized.
Sweet.
On a side note, the woman who does do it, who puts it, is a Riverside alum.
I
So,
didn't know that.
Yes, she mentioned it.
She's amazing.
That's cool.
Okay, so progress. Progress is hard. It is very data rich. There is a lot to it when we're talking about the calculation. You can go back, that's okay. And progress is really, it's growth or value added. They're all kind of one and the same. And it speaks to, it really looks at how our students are performing in comparison to how they are expected to perform. That second part down there, that regardless of where they enter, students should at least maintain their achievement relative to other students across the state who take the same test in the same year. So that second part is really, if we line all the students up, if I am 10th in line, I should stay 10th in line or move forward, hopefully. But if somebody else jumps over me, then I need to keep moving up. So our goal is to keep students right where they, not right where they are, but at least where they are or moving forward. In progress, there are two ways of looking at this. And like I said, there's a lot of data that goes into this calculation. Data that we still have not gotten back yet. It should come within the next week or so. But in grades 4 through 8, only in math and language arts, we have something called a gain model. And the gain model, what it does is it takes all of the scores and we use normal curve equivalents to kind of evenly distribute what the scores look like. And the reason being for that is because if you look from one test to the next, sometimes you have a different top score, or 700 is always proficient, but maybe it's a 720 is going to go to accomplished in one test and 730 in another test. So the NCE is actually put everybody, it gives us a way to have a conversation about the students taking the test and whether or not we are maintaining our place in line or moving forward. So once they do all of that, each student is I don't want to say they're assigned an NCE, but they have one. And then we're trying to decide, did that student stay right where they are, or did they move forward? 50 is average, so if I'm sitting at 50, am I still at 50? Did I go to 51? Did I go to 49? The predictive model, though, we need to use, we do use, at the high school and in science in 5th and 8th grade. These are predicted scores. And we take the testing history of everybody in the state, we come up with a prediction, and did the students hit the prediction or not? Did we meet it or beat it, or did we lose some ground and fall back? So that both of those have kind of this expected place where the students are supposed to perform, and progress is about, did we hit that mark or did we miss it? Can you flip to the next one?
Yeah, before we go, one thing about progress, and especially in the game model, that's 4 through 8. It's did I keep my place in line? But when we accelerate a student, they don't count. So they don't count for that year. So when we take all of our 7th graders in math and have them take the 8th grade math test, all of those 7th graders actually don't count for our 7th grade progress score in math that year. Because there isn't a model from going from 6th grade to 8th grade. They're not in line anymore. So they count then on the algebra test because we can see them then, but they skip then. So anytime we subject accelerate a kid, we lose them on the progress scale along the way. The other thing about progress is it's not just 1 year, it's 3 years. So it's a composite. So when I said this is a multi-year report card, it actually is. That's why it's the hardest to kind of come out of, because it's a 3-year, it's a composite. It's not an average. It's really just a weighted addition problem is really what it looks like. And that's where we are struggling, because we dug ourselves in a little bit of a hole in a couple areas, and we're working to get out of it, but it takes a long time to work to get out of that progress and to get there. Once you do, it's a great thing, but it's getting to that point that is really part of the struggle.
That 3-year composite can be great if you have a really good year, but if you don't, then you want to get that year out of there. So, like Dr. Rotino said, it is a composite score of up to 3 years of data. The blues are good, the reds and the yellows are not as good. Green is right where you want to be. If you look at 4th grade is just doing a phenomenal job. We're doing really well in language arts. We know that we have some areas for improvement in math and in 8th grade. But we've actually seen quite a bit of improvement in algebra, and I want to say American history also went up as well. Algebra 1, just as a side note, Algebra 1 and Language Arts 2, those are the 2 tests that you have to take for graduation. I want to say, you can maybe speak to this more. When we get into students taking AP tests, some are taking the OST as well, I believe, in biology, because we can get a
In biology,
seal.
they have to.
They have to.
In American history, a lot of them chose to. We left it on to them and they chose to. In
Okay.
government, they did not. The AP government test and the state government test do not line up at all. So they took the AP test. We still get credit for them on the achievement side of things. We do not get credit for them on the progress side. So that's where we're at. A couple things to note on this progress chart, where it is red are where areas where we know we need to grow. If you'll notice, 5th, 6th, and 8th grade math, we are definite areas that need improvement. I would say 6th and 8th grade math as well, with the actually achievement scores of them as well. The new curriculum, the CPM curriculum, was designed to kind of bridge those gaps and make sure that we are teaching math. So, and it spirals back, and we do think we're going to see a lot of gains in that, as well as in our ELA, 5th grade, and 6th grade. We took that ELA program up to 6th grade, even though we don't have to, because we know that this may be a support to drive that instruction and drive that up again, drive that achievement up as well. So we are hoping to see some gains from that. We do expect to see those as well. Again, like I said, it's a multi-year grade, so kind of a calculation. It's a composite, a weighted composite. So I'll let you explain it.
Oh no, you can go. No, it's the 3 years, and this is just what they do. So they take your value added from your most recent year, and that's weighted at 50%, and then the 2 years prior to that are both weighted at 25%. So like I said, this most recent year, it'll stay with us next year and the year after as well. And once we do that, we get the overall value-added progress, and then based on that, it gives us our number of stars and our rating.
And they really don't know how to calculate this because they keep changing it all the time. This year, for the last 2 years, they've kind of done it with, did you make growth or not? And then what was your effect size? And so they threw in another statistical thing of effect size into that just to make it even more confusing for the general public to understand what does this really mean. And really it's, when you look at 2 stars, we just didn't make growth, but the effect wasn't as great as a school that would get 1 star, which has a significant, and an effect size means it's a very significant relationship from a statistical standpoint. So at this point, our progress or our growth was less than -2 or 2 standard deviations away from what was expected. But again, there wasn't significant evidence that it was solely because of poor teaching practices, which is what progress is trying to monitor. So when you look at where we're at, I think we are really close. I mean, our growth index right now is in -4.5. That can change if we have some good years coming through. But again, we were a deeper hole. We continue to have to dig out of this hole, and it's a 3-year composite, and that's where we start to see some of it. Composite isn't an average. It's an addition problem. It's a weighted addition. So that's the problem in moving out of it, is you're still adding those scores. And we're working to make sure we get that. It's by number of students. So it's not just overall. It's kind of it's a way each student can count different ways. So even the addition is complex in this one. But what are we doing about it? Well, again, it goes back to that pathway to excellence. First of all, the instructional strategies, making sure we're personalizing, because progress really takes a look at, am I teaching to every student and not just to the middle. Ironically for us, our progress for our tails is really above average. It is really well. It's the middle where we need to improve. So that's talking about rigor, the Riverside Way, getting to that high level of rigor as well. We do have our staff working in personalized learning cohorts, so they have the ability to work with that. We provided them the tools with both Magic School and the Google Plus to have those classrooms that can provide different personalized classroom experiences for each of them. Again, we'll go back to the curriculum. It's about the instructional materials we're providing our teachers. We're providing them with new instructional math and English language arts curriculum to support them. Again, through the programs committee to kind of pick that out, select and make sure we're going there. And then gifted credentials. Again, back to working with our gifted students who may learn a different way. Are we providing our teachers with strategies to work with those students and kind of get the growth out of those students as much as we do with our students with disabilities, our REL students? Are we providing structures for every single student to be successful? And you're going to hear that again and again tonight, because that's what good teaching is about.
Real quick, the new curriculum that we have put in place, we were thinking about 2 years really to start seeing some impacts of that new curriculum.
So what we've seen other schools who have implemented it, and specifically with the math, is for the first year you see about the same. You don't necessarily see the gains, but you see about kind of it's not that, sometimes you see an inflation gap where you fall back. You see them kind of hold true to the same, and it's the second year we really start to see the bump up, because they're starting to have that spiral through. So that's the expectation in a typical implementation cycle. Now for us, it's 6 through 8 this year. Next year we're looking to go algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 to do those courses as well, because we know that algebra is rocked it this year. I can't say anything else, but then geometry there's still some struggles with that, and those are struggles consistent across the state. That is probably the toughest test that's on there, and there is really no win for a student who takes it. Every other high school EOC has some sort of carrot to it. Either it's a graduation requirement or it counts for a seal. Geometry is one that we do because the federal government says we have to give a math test in high school. Some schools give algebra in 8th grade. That's not a high school grade, so therefore it counts as a federal government requirement. It's a check. Ohio tried to get a waiver once before to get it removed because it costs money to give this assessment. It was denied. There are some changes in the federal government and the federal education department. I heard they're going to try to push for the waiver again, but it's not this year, so maybe next year.
All right, gap closing. So this was another one where we were at 4 stars. Oh, you went backwards. And what gap closing actually looks at is how well we as a district are meeting performance expectations for various subgroups. And what's interesting to me, and this, I am still learning the report card, but it's fascinating to me how many times you see the achievement and progress component keep coming back in other ones. So that top line is that achievement. That's where remember at the beginning we talked about it's where the students were scoring. Are they proficient versus advanced? And so for all of our subgroups, we met it in all of our subgroups except for students with disabilities. The English learners for language arts, it was so close. It was so very, very close. So just know that we were right there. Now, conversely, when we talk about the growth or the progress, in math, any place that it says that we didn't meet it anywhere. The yellow ones, what I think is important to note in those two lines when you're talking about the progress, any place that you see the yellow, they're showing the expected growth. So students, I can tell you it's a 0, and I know that may not mean a whole lot, but 0 is good. So we are showing expected growth and we're getting there, but then they put a target to hit and we have not hit that target. So in math with students with disabilities, we were showing the appropriate growth, but we weren't growing as much as they wanted us to. And in ELA, it was most of our subgroups. We were growing, just not hitting the target that they wanted us to. Graduation rate, we're meeting it across the board. The only reason that we don't have, we have NA and Black and English learners is because we didn't have enough students in the subgroup. You have to have 15 in the subgroup for them to pull the data on it. Our English learners, they did meet the improvement goal. This is based solely on OELPA, and there's a goal, and as long as we meet it, we get the points for that. Chronic absenteeism, we did not meet. We're at a 22.9% for the district. The goal is less than 16.4%. Since COVID, chronic absenteeism has been on the rise across the state of Ohio, and it's not unique to one district, one building. It is everywhere. There are groups of people that are getting together trying to talk about how to improve this. We are already looking at it and trying to dig in and see what we can do. There were some things that were done, I know, last year in terms of some paperwork, or making sure that students with late arrivals and early dismissals up here, that those were not counted, because chronic absenteeism counts for about 10%. It's 10% of the school year, or 65 hours. So every minute counts. If you're late, if you're on vacation, students who travel for sports, all of that adds up. And then lastly is the gifted component that goes in this. Gifted is hard. We met the value added. So our gifted students, Dr. Rotino talked about this a little bit earlier, they're growing. So those gifted students, they're growing. The achievement part, we are not hitting. It's a performance index percentage that we want to meet. I want to say that we are at 96.5%. It might be 0.2. I think it's 0.5% as a district. The goal is 97.5%. It is very, very, very high. And then the third piece of that is identification and services, and some of that is paperwork. Some of that goes back to the gifted credentialing, that Dr. Rotino was talking about. Gifted student, we earn points when gifted students have a teacher who is either credentialed or certified in gifted and in their area of giftedness. So a math student who had me since I was credentialed, we would get the points in, if that makes sense. Anything you would like to add to that?
I think you did a nice job.
Okay, thanks. We were at a 47.7%. This is just to show you kind of where we were at and what it would take to move. So we are at 4 stars right now. To move up to 5 would be a 60%. But this is one of the ones that we improved in this year.
Can I ask a question? So chronic absenteeism, and I know you said that some of it is due to kids who
It can be about lots of things.
students who are absent because of travel for whatever.
It could be anything, right.
So chronic
do we
I don't know if I have an issue with that, if I don't have any, like, I'm not certain
I agree.
how we look at that.
I-
You know, like, is some of that okay? Is some of it not okay? Is it excessive here? Like, do we put some kind of break on that and say it's too much? Like,
So, it's difficult.
I mean, I get it, it's choice, and we want students to
There's,
be able to
we
do
want
X,
our
Y, and
students
Z,
to have
but yet-
experiences. I think what we're seeing more and more, even with availability of options and
Yes.
things like that, the expectation for some of our students, even some of our students who excel in things that aren't academics, or they excel in academics, but then they're gonna go play travel sports, or they're gonna go do a club sports, or they're gonna do something else. Those expectations are, they miss school. For tournaments, they miss school for things, and that's it. And they write us these fancy notes that say, you know, so and so is a privilege to be, you know, participating in this tournament and XYZ, and you know this counts as their excuse from school. And that's great. It still counts as time for us, and it still counts for time away. Since COVID, prior to COVID, there was I did it. There was a give your kid Tylenol, hope it will last 8 hours while they're at school, and let them come home. That has changed. COVID definitely changed all of that. It was, you know, at that point, it was, you know, we were, any sign of a sniffle, we were sending, you know, students went home. They were, and it kind of shifted. It shifted the paradigm and shifted the message a little bit. And that part of that is coming back and changing that. Not that we want kids to give, not that we want our parents to give their kids Tylenol and send them to school. If you're sick, stay home. But we have to understand and realize that that's a part of it as well. The other part of it really is in parent choice and parent value. And some of our families, if their vacation time is while school is in and they want to go on a family vacation, that's important to them, they're going to go. We are still responsible for educating that child. We still need to make sure that child learns the content, whether they're here or not. Those parents are going to go. And sometimes it's an affordability factor. Walt Disney World is significantly cheaper in February than it is when students are out on break. So for some of our families, that's a great experience they want to provide for their students. They're going to do that. We can make those absences excused or unexcused. I don't think it's going to stop that parent.
But they're still absent.
They're still absent.
I
Right,
think
and
it's,
that counts against
And
that
it
score, correct?
counts for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a reporting issue where if you go to the orthodontist, those appointments again are during the day. They give you the card. If you turn the card in, it doesn't count for us. If you don't, and say we're not going to say you didn't go to the orthodontist. We believe you went to the orthodontist, but that card makes it medically waived versus excused, which doesn't count. So part of it's a follow-up on the paperwork, and can we get that and all that. Sometimes parents don't ask for the excuse. There's a whole lot of reasons that come to play with this that are kind of beyond our control with it. It's one that's growing, and we are looking at specifically where it's growing and why. And part of it is this year we're at the high school. You see it more in the upper grades. So at the high school, we're looking at gathering a group of students who are being successful in school, but are still being marked as, you know, chronically absent, and asking them why. What are you doing? And it's not a hey, this is a bad thing. It's a what is causing you to miss some of these days? And is it a reporting issue? Is it an issue with some of our processes? Because sometimes there's a software issue where we will code people for periods and not necessarily minutes because we can't with the software. And so it's something we're taking a deeper look into, and we actually have a dashboard that does that. So going back to the dashboard, there's a chronic absenteeism dashboard that puts kids in codes and colors, and we can kind of take a big look at it, where before, if you were marked chronically absent and you're getting good grades, you got a letter from us that says, this is a notice that you missed so many hours, but, you know, that's, and coming to school is important and attendance is there, but you read that and you look at your child's grades and they're getting all A's, but they missed, well, so they're doing something right and they're still being okay. So part of it is really having those conversations to see what can we do to make school a place where, you know, we can continue to improve that.
What do we do with kids who go on school trips?
Those are
Like,
waived.
you know, those are waived?
Those are waived.
So like field trips, any
Well,
kind
like,
of field trip.
you know, lengthy days away.
Those are waived.
still.
what happens when they travel for sports, like the state events or something like that?
So state event, so if it's a school state event, it's a waived event.
Okay.
So it's a school field trip. If it's a, like a JO volleyball championship, that is a excused absence.
Okay. Is there any way to look at calendars? Because I know I've heard people say they have a family that maybe has students at our district and then in Menor district, right? And the calendars are not the same. I mean, I have a child at Auburn this year, and Riverside and Auburn's calendars
So
don't
I would
match,
say
right?
that is, so when Dr. Glavin became superintendent at Auburn, he came and met with me and said, hey, what can we do? I said, the first thing we can do is get our calendar lined up. I said, that's number one, is we should have our calendar lined up. So I think ours has been out. I think he's gonna look at ours to try to line it up, to see if he can make his lineup next year or soon. Because that's something from at least the Auburn consortium we want. Now, in terms of Lake County, Mentor's a little bit different. They moved their spring break up significantly, where we traditionally keep ours the last week in March. It was set the last week in March from a standpoint of, for Auburn actually, we set it for a while. And then that kind of went away, but I think we're gonna try to get back to some sort of commonalities with that. But even with our parochial schools, they have different calendars. If we could get on the same calendar kind of with the most of the schools, that would help us with a whole lot of things more than just even vacation, but transportation and all of that as well. Because our parochial schools have different calendars, and you may have a student who goes to, who has a family member who goes to Parkside, but then they choose to send their high school students to Notre Dame or Lake Catholic or something to that aspect, and that they have different calendars. It looks a little different. We also run into it with CCP students, because CCP students, and if they're going to Lakeland and they're not going to listen to us. I mean, college spring break is typically early March, and when they go, so they'll, depending on what classes they have, they'll make the choices to what they have more of, and typically make those choices based on that. So there's a lot to it that really do, and again, we're talking 65 hours or less than 10 days of absence. So it's not even a lot that, hits that, So again, what are we doing about gap closing as a whole, not just attendance? Same things, high quality instruction, personalized learning cohorts to make sure we're meeting every single student, a specific data analysis protocol, so we look at specifically some of our subgroups when we're looking at some of this data analysis, and then gifted services, and really working to boost up our gifted services, to expand it, to target it, to make sure we're reporting it correctly and on time, because they pull at different times.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's the other word that works, I think. Oh, no, I missed it.
That's okay, we're pretty much done. Get it back.
So we'll get it back up in a second. And we'll just go to this board. All right, and now graduation rate.
Okay, so graduation rate is it's a combination of both the 4-year graduation rate and the 5-year graduation rate. Just looking at the graph, you can see we are trending in the right direction. 4-year rate was 96.6, 5-year was 93.1. They also weight this as well, so it's 60% times the 4-year rate and plus 40% times the 5-year rate. And overall, we were at a 95.2%. We were at 4 stars. To get to 5 stars was a 96.5%. So we're right there. We're making great gains in that, and have a whole host of. We actually have some dashboards that are going to help us with this as well, so that we can track credentials, readiness, and credits, and make sure that we're all moving in the right direction.
So graduation rate, again, if you looked at the graduation, it's the class of 2024 and the class of 2023, so it's a year in the rear. It's not just the class that we just graduated through. That'll be next year's graduation rate. We're finalizing that now. What are we doing about it? Number one, graduation rate is a cohort and student tracking reporting. Who's in the cohort aren't the students who start their senior year and walk across the stage. It's the students who enter Riverside High School as a freshman, and in 4 years, do they walk across the stage or not? The class of 2023 was a challenging one. They were in here during those COVID years. A lot of those students kind of went places, and we didn't know necessarily where they went. They went to other schools, they went to homeschools, they kind of did their own thing. That was a tougher track that's a tougher class to track, which is why the number was significantly lower. That drops off. We have a 96% graduation rate going into next year for our 5-year rate. So we're already looking to improve that along with our EMIS reporting to make sure that we're catching kids. We're providing alternate pathways to graduation. We're looking at embedding credentials into things because graduation isn't just did I earn all my credits, it's did I earn all my credits that I required, did I show readiness, so did I get the right seals, did I get 2 seals, especially 1 state seal. We provide that to our students in their junior year. If they're in junior English, they get the Ohio Means Job Seal. Do I have the right credentials? And then do I show competency? And that's that Algebra and ELA 2 test. We provide targeted tutoring. We have redone credit recovery for our students who can't necessarily, or who don't pass a class the first time, need to earn the credit. We've done a more targeted, focused, personalized, we hear that word a lot, personalized credit recovery program to kind of give them a little kick in the pants to get it done so they're not waiting until their senior year. There's stories every year of seniors who have not necessarily passed their classes and get to their senior year and they have to earn like 20 credits in their credit recovery, and they earn them and they make it across the stage. But it's not what we want. It's not ideal. These are smart kids. They're just not doing the work, or there were reasons why that they're there. But trying to make sure that that's there. And then also, we know this forever. Kids need to feel safe to learn. So we provide them with ample mental health supports along the way to make sure that they're safe and comfortable in that moving forward. Really proud of the high school staff and what they've done to kind of track those kids and make sure they're comfortable and really stay on them their senior year to get them across the stage. There's always a handful of kids who they're working with, and we're tracking them to make sure we know we're on that earlier this year. Part of it's our dashboards, part of it's a process with our guidance department to make sure that we know who we're at risk with so that we continue to raise that rate. But again, it's 2 years in the rear, and we think this is something that's continuing to go up for us. So it's something we're excited about.
Ready, early literacy. Early literacy has 3 different components, and what it is measuring is not just proficiency on the 3rd grade OST, but also improvement in K-3 literacy, starting in kindergarten, moving up to 3rd grade. So you can see that there are 3 components. Again, they are weighted. I know all these numbers are really little too, as I'm looking at them. So the top component, that proficiency in 3rd grade reading, that is measured when you look at the reading subscore on the actual test itself. You need to have at least a 50. It is frequently students are passing with a 700 as well as getting the 50, but it doesn't always work that way. So in order to be considered proficient, you need the 50 on that reading, the actual reading component. The promotion to 4th grade, when we look at that part of it, students have to either pass the test with a 700, or they can pass the reading part. They can be proficient and get that 50 on the reading subscore. And there's a couple other alternative pathways. You see that we're at 100% right there. So we've done well with that. This last piece, the improving K-3 literacy, I'm going to try to explain this correctly. So every single fall, we give a diagnostic to a reading diagnostic to our students in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. That's what matters in here. And once we give that diagnostic, we look at those students and say, okay, these students are on track. These are the ones who are off track. So for the sake of easy numbers, if I have 100 students and 80 are on track and 20 are off track, right now, a year from now, or next September, this bottom part is going to only look at those 20 students who are off track right this second. And this is measuring, did those 20 students move to on track, or are they still off track? And that is what that last piece of it is doing.
By far the most confusing measure on the report card. Yes, you were correct. When you look at specifically this 3rd grade literacy as a whole, summer slide can come into that. Also, we have done so what have we done for this? we moved our MAP testing back a little. We used to test them earlier in the fall. We moved it back a little bit so that we would try to get rid of some of the summer slide, get them used to schooling to move through that. Also, the on-track, off-track score, it's on track for proficiency, but it is not the equivalent of where proficient would be. So they're on track, but it's on track, and it's typically on track with intervention. So it's on track with the standard deviation in the test or in that score. So it's the lowest point that it could be. So it's to be on track is very, if you're on that bubble of on track, we're still looking at you and making sure that we're giving you some interventions, because you're not necessarily, in the third grade, the on-track number and the I am proficient and can read number are very different, and they should be a lot closer. So what we see in that is kind of that. The other part, the third grade score is, if I'm off track, did I pass the test? And that's an ELA, so it's an English and writing test. That's that third grade component that means, so that's a small number to start with. So these don't represent the students in each grade level. These represent the handful of students who have measured off track and are removing them. So you could be looking at anywhere between 20 to 50 students at the most for each of these bars. And they change every single year. Any questions? Go ahead.
Do we have any, and it might be in the data somewhere, but do we have any idea of like the number of students? I know you used 80-20, I think, for
Yeah.
simplicity of numbers, right? But do we have any idea of how many students are on track? Since this just looks at the students that are.
We do.
We do. I can't
Yes.
tell you that right this second, but could we find that? Yes, it's easy enough to do. I mean, they've already, I've been into a couple of the buildings actually going through the report card data, and the teachers were going, oh, this is how many I have, and this is how many I have, and so, okay, next year, this is who we're gonna be looking at. I mean, it was a really interesting conversation to have with those teachers.
So because I think that number could be a little bit misleading, right?
Yes.
Because, right, so for people that don't understand that, again, it's for the students that are not on track, it doesn't really tell the full story. So that's
It
why I was
doesn't at all.
wondering, so.
This also includes, these numbers also include our students who have diagnosed, learning disabilities in reading. So that those are also a part of that. This also includes, it does not include our ELL students who are in their first or second year in the country, but after that, it does include them as well. It also, it includes, there are a number of different students who, it just includes all of them kind of taking the assessment. And typically when we get them, wherever they get to us in kindergarten is kind of where we take them from that point. And in terms of a kindergarten readiness, we see about 40% of our students when they take the KRA are about scoring a ready, proficient on that early literacy component. So that's an area where, working with our pre-K programs throughout the county and encouraging our parents to do some things. And we've got some things in the hopper for that to help with those, that pre-K part of it, so that they come to school more prepared to read them. If they have a vast vocabulary, they're going to learn to read a whole lot more and a whole lot quicker. So the majority of this, though, is on the third grade score. So it's a third grade reading score when they take it. That's where the majority of it comes from, and that's that passage rate on that third grade score. Are they scoring 700? And they moved that to 700. So that's the bar. That's where we have to go. We know we're going to work to get there. What are we doing? Well, again, we're personalized learning. We're data reporting. We're making sure that we have the right ways to enter this. Like I said, it's very important when we take the assessment, not the first couple of weeks of school. We want to make sure students feel comfortable in school, that they're ready, that they kind of knock some of that summer slide off, because it's a fall-to-fall rating. Nothing we do throughout the school year this year does it, but it's on this year's report card. It's last year, it's actually last fall and the fall before that. Again, the phonics support, we talked about, being the Foundations to Read. So the Foundations program, the GEODS books that we put in, we aren't going to see that on the third grade test until this year, but we're going to see it. MTSS and those protocols on how to look at data and how to put kids in group kids and make sure they're getting the level of interventions they need, that checks out with the assessment. Fidelity checks of the program. We can have the best programs in the world. If we're not teaching them to fidelity, it's not worth it. So are we teaching the program to fidelity, and then the wit and wisdom in K1 and 2 is really going to make an impact.
Is there a date by which?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a date by which we have to give the test, the assessment?
Yes. So we are required to give the diagnostic screener, I think by it's the 30th day of school. There's a school date that
So
you
like
have
the
to get.
later,
The later back you push it is better, but you have to make sure you test all of your students. So you can't push it to the very last day because you're going to have students who miss, going back to chronic absenteeism. You're going to have students who are out. So you have to have kind of some of that time. And you can't just give it to the entire class at once or the entire school at once because of our students who have different testing requirements, a small group, things like that. So we try to span it, but we do try to push it back as far as we can.
The Haggerty.
Yes.
Phonemic awareness, it says K, but is that also in
It's,
pre-K?
yeah, it's pre-K, K, one, I think one does Haggerty too. I've seen some of those. So it's pre-K, K, and one.
Has there been any tracking with our pre-K kids and where they started and how they progress? Just because they started a year earlier?
There were, actually, that was something that was brought up, and some teachers were interested in looking at that. So I'm not sure if it's been done in the past. It has not been done by myself. I'm, being brand new to this, but it's interesting that you brought that up, and I had some teachers ask the
Yeah,
same
it might be
thing.
something we might
I
want
think it
to
is something we
look
want to
at.
look into. We can
Yeah.
probably code them in a way where we can start to
Mhm.
pull some of those reports.
Mhm.
Is it also like a factor of where they're going to pre-K?
Pre-K does have a factor. Are they a high-quality pre-K program? We're doing some initial talks about some sort of early literacy programming for communities. And so I've had some talks with Painesville City as well as Fairport Harbor, because we're all 14477, talking about like a zip code type community outreach program with some programs. So we're in the early, and the ESC who has a grant for this. So kind of implementing it, doing some early literacy type things with those, not only our pre-K programs, just our families, to get our families involved in some of this.
I'm just curious, because there's a lot of people who are going to, non-public.
We are seeing a lot of students who aren't going to preschool anymore, even with work from home. We see a lot less preschool attendance and just some of that as well. So our preschool attendance is significantly, I don't know about significant, but it seems to be down. Not as many years of experience in pre-K.
And also, just what the libraries are also doing. I know,
Mhm.
I think was it Madison that started their bookmobile thing?
A lot of libraries are going
I'm
out
representing Melissa at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of libraries are going out to our families as well. She wants a bookmobile.
Yeah, I know,
That's-
I know.
I want a food truck. She wants a bookmobile. That's fair. But I think that's a lot of libraries are doing that. I know the Morley programming that's out there is something that can continue, but continue to reach out to our families to provide these opportunities for them, so that they know that they're there and getting the programs to them and accessible to them and finding.
Right, there was also a year where there was some type of summer program that the Lake County Western
Yeah.
Reserve ESC did.
And
It was at Hale Road, I think.
And this is, yes, and that was funded through COVID dollars.
Okay.
So, and this is one of those where it needs to be more of a county initiative, because I think at this point, as the zip code and all of that, we don't know where all these students are going, their choices they're making, but they all need to learn how to read, and they all need that. And the more books they have, the more access they have to books and words and vocabulary, the better readers they're going to be. So I think it's part of getting the materials to them, and then also providing them different, just parents simple opportunities, and families are busier. So there's a lot to play in it, but it's something that's on our radar and that we are looking to address from a larger perspective than just Riverside.
Quick question. I don't know why early literacy, why it jumps out more. I think it's because of that, how it's calculated, but I'm sure all these, trying to make sure we're improving our test scores bring a lot of challenges to the classroom for the teachers, right? So how are we supporting our teachers as we look at making these improvements? And I think the early literacy one probably jumps out because now you have a group of kids that are at where they need to be, right, and you have kids that are not, right? And in order to improve the score, we need to make sure those kids are making progress, but we don't want to lose track of the kids that are already where they need to be and making sure they continue to grow.
Well,
So that's to me, that's what brings a unique
It
challenge to
is.
the classroom.
When you go into a primary classroom, it's really a wonder of what is, of how they are moving through and managing all of these students. It's about grouping. It's about using assessments to group students in levels, but then changing those groups as they go. So we're supporting our team. We're providing them new methods and new kind of ideas. Team teaching is one that comes up quite often. We put two teachers together to really work on foundational skills. One is the expert, the other works as a support teacher. Not that they can't, they can, and they're very well at it, but kind of working to group and to work and divide and conquer a group of students in a little bit different ways. Group kids, move kids around, shift them around. So that's one strategy that we're finding a lot of success with. But it's giving them the time to learn about it, to do it, and then allowing them to take risks. To say, hey, it's a risk. You know you're going to go out and do it. It can look ugly at times. We'll support you through those times, and we're going to make sure that we help you. And hey, and it's okay to go up to and for our teachers to go up to a class and say, you know what, yesterday wasn't my best day. I'm going to do better. But it's okay to say that. I've said that all the time. You know, we make mistakes as people. Mistakes are how you learn. And I think giving our teachers the understanding that you're not always going to be on, but we're going to support you through it, and supporting them through the initiatives with the items, with the classrooms we provide, with the furniture, the flexible seating, all of those things we do to make those classrooms inviting so that they can do these different strategies and move forward. That's part of the way that we are supporting them. I think the other way is with our coaches and our supports with that, all the staff we put in, our tutors that we've continued to provide, some of those tier 2 instruction along the way. I know doing some of the robust MTSS programs where we provide some of the interventions for them and do the work for them. So we give them a toolkit to work from, helps as well. And letting them cook is a big deal too. They're the experts. Let them kind of get in there and do their thing with some of it. So
Yeah, I like the fact that they have, the opportunity at their grade level, but also reaching across the different schools in our district.
Well, Mrs. Brewster, it's even more than that. We were at Sycamore. We had a group go down to Cincinnati to look at some schools down there to see some best
Yeah,
practices.
that's what I was saying. Reach out to high performing
So
districts.
we are, we see what the best are doing,
Yeah.
and some of these things that they're doing don't fit our students and don't
No.
fit our culture. So it's good to see that, to see what doesn't work as well, and what won't work here, because I think that's a big thing as well for us. Is what can we take and bring it and make it so it fits it fits our culture, because that's important too.
For sure.
Last area.
Last one. This one's actually pretty quick. So college, career, workforce, and military readiness is, as I said this way at the beginning, there was a rating last year, but it didn't count. This year is the first year that it does count, and we have, we earned 3 stars on it, and actually we're doing pretty well.
That 3-star rating is the second highest in Lake County.
Yeah. So I feel like we're on the right track. This really, it speaks to how prepared our graduating class is to transition into the workforce or college or going into the military. I hate to say it this way, but it's each student that hits anything on this list, we get a point for. So but you only get 1. So I could hit 5 things on that, but we only get to check the box once on me. And there's a variety of ways to go after this. The honors diploma, the industry recognized credential, you need to have 12 credentials in the same single pathway. The dual enrollment credit, I believe we
It's
have.
12 credits.
Is it? Did I say 12 or what? Did I make that up?
No, it's 12 credentials
Okay.
and 12 credits.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I said the wrong words. Dual enrollment credit is. We
to
still
12
do
hours.
welding and 12 hours. That
Yes,
this is
yes.
not my strong one. Remediation free ACT and SAT scores, the 3 or higher on AP tests. Enlisting in the military, the only thing that I've heard from anywhere that has been an issue with that one is not getting the appropriate paperwork back in time to know that students are enlisting. I don't know that that's so much an issue here, but I've heard that could be an issue. Gaining, either being accepted in or completing a recognized apprenticeship program and completing a pre-apprenticeship program. We have that in construction here, is that correct? Is proficient or better on the CTE technical assessments. That's another one that can be a timing issue, getting the scores back in enough time to report them. And then this last one, the Ohio Means Job Readiness Seal, they are working on in the junior level English classes. The issue with this is they also have to complete the 250 hours of work-based learning. And that was one of the areas that we weren't able to kind of check the box on that piece. So there is the senior capstone, I think, is going to help with that when Dr. Rotino gets to it. So again, when you look at this, it's looking for each student to hit the mark in one area. And overall, we're at a 68.9%, which put us right in the middle of 3 stars. And as Dr. Rotino said, we are second in Lake County. So it, is first year, we're doing pretty well. And again, this is another place that we have a dashboard that is going to help us immensely with tracking all of this.
So this is one that I will say had the most criticism from anyone across the state in terms of what checks the box, because it really does pigeonhole students. So for the AP test, you have to have 3 3s or better on an AP test. For the college and career and readiness, you have to have 12 credits. Well, if you get 1 3, we had students who got 1 3 on an AP test, which gives them 3 hours of credit when they transfer into college, and 9 credit hours, that's 12. I can do the math, but that doesn't count because they got 9 credits and they technically had it, but you can't double dip from each. Our belief is students should have a robust experience. They should take an AP test. They should take AP courses if they want to. They should be able to take college and career. They should be able to take Lakeland courses. And they shouldn't have to choose. They can do them all. Career seals, those are pretty straightforward. Auburn typically does a lot of those for us. Do they get their seals at Auburn? Sands Welding, all of our welding students get their seals from us, unless those who are in the welding program at Auburn. But that's where some of them are. So how are we working to complete this? Part of it is we're tracking it. Now that we know we're working to track it, we're also advocating they change it a little bit so you can double dip in some of them. We've added AP courses. Our career electives, we have 11 career electives that provide students in different ways. We've changed those from senior courses to junior and senior courses. And the reason why is we added the senior capstone that will provide the work-based learning for students. The embedded credentials and seals, we've talked about those already. Our pre-apprenticeship program, we offer the 1 in construction. Once the CTE building is open, we're going to look at our manufacturing program to see if we can offer the viability of adding advanced manufacturing course with AWT as a part of it in our own house. So we're going to work with AWT to make sure that can happen. Lakeland at RHS, we expanded to offer 31 hours on campus for students to get. That is an immense opportunity. They don't even have to leave. They can take those credits here. And then again, I mentioned the senior capstone project as well. So those are some of the things we're doing with it. As well as part of it's an awareness with our guidance department to make sure that they're looking to see, can you check the box and can you push it? We've had students who graduate, and to be honest too, ACT and SAT scores, our students may only take that test once anymore because a lot of schools are test optional. So they'll go and they don't have to give their test score, so that's a cost to families, so why would they take it again? So if they don't hit it on the first time and they've never taken a test like that, then they're not, it is what it is. So I think we're looking at other ways to maybe improve this a little bit, but I think ultimately the state realizes, this isn't quite where we want it. They're going to make some adjustments too, because I will tell you that more than 60% of our students are graduating our college and careerness, and I saw a stat that 80% of our students are still enrolled in college 2 years after, which is a great number to see, and that our graduation rate's going up. But again, you're also seeing you don't always need a college degree to become successful, and that's a part of it.
But who are you talking with at the state to get it?
So we're working through BASA, who's the Superintendent Association, and then it's I have tomorrow we're meeting with I think it's Steve Dakin, who's actually the chancellor due to work with some of that to talk about some of this. So we're advocating as much as we can.
The Lakeland College Credit Plus, are we seeing more participation because it's on campus?
We're seeing some. I think last year it rolled out a little bit late, so I think
Okay.
the more that we have now, and the meeting was packed, but we had a lot of younger families too, who I think we'll see as we continue to offer, then we're going to get more and more that come through it. So we expect that program to grow exponentially, and really, it is a whole lot easier and nicer and more convenient for our families and students. Any other questions? Okay, well, that concludes the
Thank you
work
for
session.
the presentation.
Okay, thank you for that. First reading of new revised board policy.
So I put this one, this is the personal communications policy from the policy committee meeting. Mr. McIntyre noticed that I had 2 words in there that really kind of made it, it said or possession. We do allow students to possess their phones because in our emergency policy, it says they have to be accessible, and if we have them locked in a locker or in the car, they're not. So they just have to be off. So we removed the and possession from the having a cell phone on it, so that's why it's there. So that's the first reading of this one. They will be on next week's agenda for approval.
Okay, thank you for that. And consent agenda personnel.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the items listed in A of the personal consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please take the roll.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Lona Grossi,
Aye.
Lori Krenisky,
Aye.
Scott Fisher.
Aye. Motion carried. Board of Education business, school improvement TAN authorization. Resolution authorizing not to exceed $4 million school improvement tax anticipation notes. Make a motion to approve that. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So this is a resolution to approve up to 4 million. We have a schedule here that shows we are anticipating borrowing 3 million, but again, I'm gonna go back and say, since we don't have a cost, we really don't know how much we should or would be borrowing. This is over a 10-year period. We're making some assumptions here. We've got this debt service schedule.
I was able to confirm with Mr. Priscilla today that the aggregate number in the far right column is the total of the TANs and the COPS payments every year.
Right, and it's, you know, it's still more than what was in the PI forecast by about 60 grand annually. Is there any, I mean, we don't have our treasurer here to have this conversation, nor do we have Mr. Priscilla here to have this conversation, so we're kind of going blindly here. Is there any, I don't want to say recommendation, but just comment from them
So
on interest rates
Yes,
going lower?
I can speak to that. For Mr. Priscilla, the schedule I provided you assumes a 5.01% interest rate, which he pulled from today. His quote, and I put it down specifically, is most likely to be a handful of points below when we actually go out because of what the markets are doing. So
The market had a bond rally today and it ended up, I think, at 3.97. So just in the last week, there's been a strong rally, and the trajectory or descending is down. So there's a rally, which means the rates are going down, and we'll see what happens because no one knows what's going to happen with rates. But they look like they're going down, and they did go down today.
I guess I'm asking, are we going to make every opportunity to time it appropriately if we're going to go forward with borrowing? To time it, and I also have issue with the fact that, you know, looking at this whole schedule, I know this is only on the TANs, but, you know, we're anticipating borrowing 9 million in COPS. What happens when that's just not enough money? Because we don't have a price yet, so
Well,
I'm gonna keep going back to that.
Right, we've been talking about this for a year now, and we know
that's
that the
got
money,
nothing-
we know that the money is gonna go as far as it can go because we have much more work to do in this district than we have money to do. And so we're gonna go as far as we can. What we're doing right now is fixing 20 years of
Okay.
neglect of the buildings. And
I-
so
I'm
we
hearing
don't
that.
have enough money to do everything that needs done. We have an engineer's report of $98 million of work that they recommended because of the neglect on the buildings. Now,
Do we have a guaranteed maximum price yet?
Excuse me, I'm not finished. Okay. And so what we know we're going to do is we are building an 8-classroom addition. We're getting the kids out of the moldy trailers. Those trailers are now gone. unsafe
Still one left.
and unhealthy, okay? They're gone. So we're putting up an 8-classroom addition so the kids can be in a bricks and mortar building. We're putting up a new gymnasium. We're doing other updates. And then the goal is to take the money as far as we can go. Mr. Keeney, you might talk about it. We're looking at air conditioning, flooring, lighting at Buckeye and hopefully at Melridge. And I know some utilities. And so do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, we're still in preliminary, but it's really to focus on the basics. You know, the buildings do need air conditioning. That is not a simple task in a building that age. The windows desperately need upgrading. That goes along with better efficiency in running the buildings. You know, there may be some asbestos in some of these. We know what is there. Is just a matter of, is it cost effective to remove it or encapsulate it in some way? We're replacing the furnaces in the original Buckeye building along with this addition that we're putting on, because that all come into play when we go back in to do the original Buckeye building. So there's a lot of things that we're just trying to provide the basics to bring the building up to into the 21st century, so to speak, for comfort and ease of use and for the children and everything
But
else.
we don't know that this is going to be enough money to cover that. Let's face it. We don't have a GMP for the addition, and we don't know how much money is going to be left over. I continue to say the same thing, meeting after meeting. We don't know what's going to be left.
Well,
And so we may not have enough money to do any of those other additional things in Buckeye, nor have we ever even talked about Melridge. So I don't know why we keep, bringing Melridge up into this equation, because we've never had that conversation here at this table about the projects that we're supposedly going to do at Melridge.
There
And
are-
I can hear you say we're going to take it as far as we could take it, but I don't know that we'll even have enough to do any finish Buckeye.
So
How do
we've
we know
been-
we're going to have
yeah.
enough?
So
Well, we
hold on,
did-
we've been working very closely with our owner's rep.
Yes, our board hasn't
And-
heard all that
and-
information.
And so what we know and bringing to the board table is that the addition in the gymnasium, plus or minus, is going to be about $7 million.
I don't know, we haven't heard that information
Okay,
yet.
so I'm informing you that's what his estimation is. So what I'm addressing is, you're saying you don't know if there's going to be any money left over to do anything else. Well, we know there's going to be money left over to do other things. We're building an eight classroom addition at Riverview. We know what the cost is, because we're doing it right now. Okay, it's obvious. We're doing it right now. And so we know what that cost is, or approximately, and when you get into, like the CTE wing here, we just ran into a gas problem, right? We're gonna have to do a new gas main, and then we're gonna have the tributary off of that. There's always things that you're gonna run into. There are unknowns. It is impossible to have a complete final number, impossible. Because when you're renovating, you're gonna run into things that have to be done.
But we haven't even
Okay,
talked about
so-
renovating.
Okay, oh, yes, we have. We've been
No, we
talking
haven't.
about this for almost a year now.
This board has not
Okay.
talked about what it is we're going to renovate, so we don't have a
Okay.
plan for, these are the 7 things we want to renovate. We
So
haven't
can
talked
I,
about that.
Dr. Rotino, do we have a guaranteed maximum price yet?
We do not. My understanding is that Mr. Ratchey will have it tomorrow at close of business. He will review it. He has takes about a week to review that, and that is for, I'm not getting this right, MEP, architectural, and the
everything
building.
but civil.
The building,
Okay.
basically. Then the civil one will come a week from that, and he will review that as well to ask questions and kind of basically pull some savings out along the way of making sure that that is there. So we should have it, the board should have both of those within the next, by 2 weeks, I would say.
So-
Okay,
What is-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do we have bids have we put out for formal bids on any of the extras that we're looking to do?
So we do have some alternate bids. Mr. Ratchey asked for some alternates to come with that as well. I know we looked at, I think he put the roof was one, replacement of the Buckeye roof. I think another one was air conditioning for the entire building at once. I think he did put some in there. Windows was another one I know for sure into those. So we should see those as well tomorrow, because that's part of that package. And then, well, we'll see it a week from that once you finalize that.
So is there a
Tomorrow,
reason
right,
why
and then
we're
Tuesday.
looking to
Well,
Tomorrow
He gets
we'll
it
receive
tomorrow.
it, right.
Yeah, he gets it tomorrow. He will hopefully have it, or start to look at it and go from there.
Right.
And then as to the gas main, just to speak on that, I did get some information this afternoon. Enbridge is gonna put it in and trunk off, and we will have gas within the next couple of days. So we don't have the issue that we thought we had.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
good.
is there a reason why we have to rush through and approve financing things when we're going to have this other data coming shortly and we can actually see whether or not this would be enough? My fear is 9, 10, 11, 12, that's $12 million on this worksheet right here as it is. If we need another $2 million, we don't have that in here, and I don't know what that looks like when you're looking at financing because it's not on here. It's not built into that. So if it were to exceed that, or we decided, well, if we're gonna do those 3 things, we should probably do this 4th thing. I don't know. We haven't talked about it, so we don't know what that looks like because this is just basically capping it at 12 million.
So we've been talking about this for a long time, so I'll just say it again.
Just-
We're doing an 8-classroom addition, we're doing a new gymnasium. We're gonna be doing updates to Buckeye and Melridge as far as the money will go. It's that simple. How far will the money go? Part of it's gonna be determined by, once we get into Buckeye and see everything that we need to do, what else needs to be done with that. It is impossible right now to have a clear and final number, whether the bids are in or not. The bids are for the new construction and some alternatives. So it is impossible to have a final number. Now, I've been in construction for almost 50 years, okay? I understand these things, okay? It's real clear. The money's gonna go as far as it can go. We need to take care of these buildings to make it more comfortable for the students, for the teachers, and the staff, and administration to do their jobs and for the kids to learn. Right now, we've not been in a very good situation. Since I've been on the board for 4 years, we've had kids in trailers. Are you kidding me? The kids, 3rd, 4th graders have to put a coat on in the winter to go to the bathroom in the main building. They come back, then they have to put their coat on to go into the building for lunch. And then they have to put their coat on and go outside and go into the building if there's another activity. And they were in unsafe trailers to begin with. So that is ending, and we're moving forward with this project to make it a higher quality situation and learning experience for the students. We're in the business of education. We need to educate the kids.
And it
Okay?
is my
And we're gonna
understanding
make the
that-
money go as far as it can go.
that architects and engineers and design teams calculate costs for renovated buildings all the time. That's their business, that's what they do. And so to ask them what would it cost is not out of the question. We didn't do that, and we're just gonna decide, well, we'll just do whatever with whatever money we have left. I think we're putting the cart before the horse again.
Well, to that point,
So-
you know, they have basic square footage costs. And we have looked at that, maybe not necessarily at the board table.
Well,
But-
okay,
But we
who's
do know what some renovation numbers are. We do know what new construction numbers are. And we know what square footage we have.
Who's we? Because you just said, the
They-
board
they-
hasn't looked at
The
it.
design team, you know, they kind of give us some feedback, okay, if it's gonna cost $250 a square foot to renovate, and you have 20,000 square feet to renovate, that's what that costs. If you have 15,000 of new construction, I'm just pulling these numbers, of new construction at $450 a square foot, well, then you have a number there. So, you know, we have some guidelines that we can go by. We're not just, you know, going out into the wind with this. We know what our cap can be and what we can do with that. But like, you know, it's been said, we certainly, you know, we could borrow 12 million, we could borrow 14 million. We certainly can't borrow 50 million to take care of all of these. Yes, there's going to be things in the future that we need to address with different money. But at this point, we're addressing these immediate needs, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
And we are just not gonna have any money left. This is already showing that $60,000 more than what we originally
Well,
anticipated.
if we did nothing and just kept the money in the bank, would that solve anything?
Well, hold on a
This
second.
isn't our money.
Hold on a second. When I got onto the board, there was almost $10 million in the PI fund. That's like 3 years of PI money, more than 3 years of PI money coming into the district, and nothing was done with it. Since nothing was done with it, and we ended up with the government numbers are 20% inflation. We lost $2 million of purchasing power by doing nothing. I'm in the construction business. I will tell you my numbers went up 30% just to keep up. So the real inflation rate in construction was 30%. We lost $3 million of purchasing power by doing nothing.
But we
Okay,
had plans
right
for
now-
that money,
right-
Mr. Fisher,
right-
when you came onto the board,
right
but you
now-
negatively
right
campaigned
now-
against the plans.
Right now, this board is moving forward and fixing the problems, because there's a lot of problems, and we need to fix them.
Right, and we will not be
So-
able to resolve any of
so-
the other problems after we do this. We're gonna sit here for
That's
another
not
20
true.
years. Right.
That's not true.
How much is it to put a roof on this building?
So-
Which you've talked about. How much
Excuse
does it
me.
cost to put a roof on the
Excuse me,
building?
we're not doing a roof on this building. So, you said that the money is more than what we projected. It is not. The projection is $825,000 a year.
It says
Okay?
$885,000.
This chart right here shows different options. Okay?
I'm looking at this, which we got today.
This chart right here shows different options. So this option right here, if you take $12 million, all in with the cops and the TANs, and you do 28 years, it's $798,000. Okay, that's $27,000 less.
He gave us this today.
Okay, and this too, today. Okay?
That's from previous.
So,
This one actually was updated Friday.
right, this one is the
Yeah,
updated.
They're all today's. date.
Okay?
I do
All right,
apologize.
so the point is that since there's a rally in the bond market, we're looking at 12 million here. We may very well be able to get 12.5. That's just an aside, just letting everyone here that's watching and listening know. We might be able to get 12.5 million and be at that $825,000 that has been projected in the PI for this. That is approximately 27% of the PI cash flow. Leaves us 73% to do other work. Okay, we are not running out of money in this PI fund. We're being very responsible. It's no different than someone going and buying a house and getting a mortgage. The normal number's 28% of your income goes towards your mortgage. This is 27%.
Most normal households know what that cost is before they indebt themselves. We can move on.
So anyway, thank you for that. Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second, we've had discussion. Can you take the roll?
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Belinda Grassi,
Nay.
Lori Krenisky,
Nay.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney.
Aye.
Motion carried. Tax exempt lease purchase financing for school projects. Resolution authorizing installment payment or lease purchase financing in the form of one or more series of installment payment obligations, lease purchase obligations, or certificates of participation issued as tax exempt obligations providing for the acquisition, construction, equipping, and improving of real and/or personal property for school district purposes, including one or more installment payment agreements, ground leases, lease purchase agreements, and/or trust indentures, and matters related thereto. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Can you take the roll?
Belinda Grassi,
Nay.
Lori Krenisky,
Nay.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next meeting announcement. Next meeting, Curriculum and Programming Committee, October 20th at 7 a.m. Board of Education meeting. Buildings and Grounds, October 21st.
At 7:30.
7:30. Board of Education meeting, October 23rd at 6 p.m. Finance and Personnel Committee, November 13th at 8 a.m. Curriculum and Programming, November 14th, 7:30 a.m. Board of Education meeting, November 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Thank you for coming, and everyone have a great evening.
We got to adjourn last paper special.
Oh, sorry about that. We have to adjourn.
We do.
So I make a motion to adjourn at 7:10. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. You take the roll.
Lori Krenisky,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Dennis Keeney,
Aye.
Denise Brewster,
Aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Okay, now everyone have a great evening. Motion carries.